Our next speaker this morning is Valérie Daussin, and Valérie is the team leader for business development and a project leader for the Biomarker Commercialization Consortium at Aalborg University Hospital. And this morning, Valérie is going to talk to us about biomarkers commercialization. So I will now hand over to you, Valérie.
Thank you very much. I will open my presentation. Can you see it?
Yes, it's not in presentation mode.
Yeah, it's coming. I think it's a little bit slow. Yes.
That's it.
Yes, I will speak about biomarker commercialization tools that we have developed in a consortium. We have. I've lost my presentation, so I need. Oh yes. We have been. I'm working in a technology transfer office in charge of innovation and business development, and we found out that biomarkers are actually in a university hospital are feeding quite a lot of the innovation pipeline we have, but they are not very. We were not very successful in bringing them into the market and collaborating with industry. So we tried to understand why, and we tried to find different organization and institution, university and university hospital who had the same challenges in order to create a critical mass and try to find out what are the barriers for commercialization on biomarkers. And why it is important is because biomarkers are very present in the clinical field. Of course, it's a large part of clinical decision, or if it's a diagnostic, if it's a prognostic, or if you have to take a decision for taking a treatment or monitoring the results or the efficacy of a treatment. Also, when you look at the PubMed, you have really 100,000 publications on biomarkers and potential candidates or potential fundings, but actually it's only 1 to 2% of those markers really become product on the market. So there is really a gap between the interest we have in looking and trying to understand the pathway for sickness and this kind of thing, and the transfer of those results into something which is actually available for patients at the end. I just need to precise that when I'm speaking on biomarker and the tools we have developed, we have focused only on biological biomarkers. We haven't looked at digital biomarker, for example. So it's really the kind of biological substance you can measure in fluids and tissues. So we wanted to understand how better translate the discovery to something more clinical useful. We wanted also to create some guidelines for TTOs, people like me, in order to be more efficient in supporting the researcher into the development phase and creating the proper documentation that will be interesting for industry afterwards. Researchers, most of them don't have that much understanding and that much interest for the commercialization part. So we really wanted to bridge a gap in communication and understanding, and also in the communication with industry afterwards. And one very difficult part for us as the TTOs, it was which criteria should we apply for selecting the proper biomarkers project? What are the criteria for evaluating if a biomarker is a very interesting candidate? And it was not that easy to answer, compare maybe to other kind of medical device. So we come with the concept that researchers generally have very good technical skills, clinical understanding and knowledge, but very limited experience with commercialization. So we wanted really to be able to address those people who've never tried to have a commercialization and improve the communication and the collaboration between the TTO and the researchers. The regulatory issues are also very important when you come. Actually, very early stage, you can have some choice to make when you make, for example, your ethical committee application, when you want to reuse your samples and this kind of thing. So we wanted to make them aware that they have to think very early for further development. The IPR is not easy with biomarker. We are very challenged in the US, so it's important also to address those issue very early. We had also a lot of interviews with the community, the researcher, of course, but also the industry, the investors, and TTOs. And we really needed to have the view on biomarker commercialization from so many aspects. So the market, the clinical need, the access to the market, how we can make the product something viable economically. We had difficulty also to find out when was the right timing to start the dialogue with the industry. Was a proof of principle enough, or do we need to have a proof of concept? Should we already have a decision on the technical platform to make the actual measurement afterwards, or should we only focus on the clinical utility of the marker, so having really good relationship between the marker and the disease we wanted to look at. So there were a lot of aspects we wanted to have a look on. So that's why we developed a set of tools. Actually, it's not only one. The main tool we develop, of course, is a guide who bring actually the team, because you work across many disciplines when you work with biomarkers, but really from discovery to market launch, and guiding the team through all this process, and also handpathing who should be working at some point. What is the role of the TTO? What is the role of the regulatory specialist? What is the researcher, the clinical research team role? What is the technical team role? Just to make it a little bit easier to work together, but having understanding each of us of the role we have to play. We started also to collect best practice from the partnership and all the people we had access through the partnership. So it's a quite it's really based. We call it that best practice, but actually we collect also a lot of the pitfalls we have experiences as TTOs. Why did we not success with some specific project, and trying to have a look on that, just to be able to give some advices about maybe you should consider that or that, because that could be a problem later on in this kind of thing. We develop a review tool also for screening and selection of the project, and it's specifically for TTOs. What are the criteria you will have to collect? And we develop a IVDR guide, an explanation of the new regulation for researchers and TTOs. So we will never be expert based on this guide, but the question is really to help understanding the process you have to go through and why you have to consider those things. Now in a later stage, we are also developing an educational toolbox where people educating researcher or TTOs, they will be able to use some part of the big tools in order to use that in their training program. So the big guide has been conceived on 7 phases, from discovery to market launch. And under each, actually, I think the best for me probably is to show you, because it's much easier to take it directly. Sorry, just take 1 minute. Can you see the website now?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So if I open the big guide, here probably, you have those 7 phases. If you see about my mouse, discovery, verification, prototype. So you have the green phases, who are the phases that mainly appear when you are in these research phases, and it can be also in the industry. And then you have this kind of time when you really need to compile all your business part that we have called the maturation. But it's not really a technical phase. It's really more wrapping up the project, making all the conclusion, and deciding if you are going to go further for the business part. And we are currently developing the last two phases where you really launch your product on the market. So it's much more heavy on the regulatory part and of course the marketing also aspect on the project. But we have built the big guide, so the 7 phase, and under each phases we have developed 3 different tracks, also in order to keep a kind of mindset that you work as a team, and we each have the role to play in this team. So trying to be specific enough for researcher to know what is their responsibility, and for the TTO to say, okay, that's my responsibility, but I will of course work with my team of researchers. So under the 3 track, we have defined a list of tasks that everybody should consider when working with the biomarker development, and then under some of those ones, we have put some link or a template or this kind of supporting document that can inspire you. And that's what you will find all along the process. So it can be a little bit heavy to use, and I will say directly that if you don't consider commercialization for your biomarker, probably you should not use the tool, because it may be a little bit overwhelming. There is a lot of information, there is a lot of process described here. But if you really consider commercialization, it's a very structure way of planning your development, and it's how we use that in our TTOs. We plan the next 6 months, the next 1 year, when we need to make clinical new clinical validations, and we can have a more long-term planning of the research together with a group in order to reach the next milestones. For example, if we need some funding, you will have to plan and describe what you are looking for money for. So it's really helped to have a more systematic approach on your development. So that's for the big guide. And then, as I mentioned, or actually I should just say that again, sorry. And then for every phases of the development, you will have a kind of where you start, where you finish. So what you are supposed to do during your phases, and what is output when you having there. We decide not to make a stage gate model, because sometimes you just can go back, or sometimes depending on your project, every project is very unique in many ways. You will have to place some of the tasks differently. So we didn't want it to have something too rigid, but something more inspirational and helping. Then at the end of each phases, you will be able to find all the supporting document at one places. And we integrated a kind of self-evaluation tool for the team, because again, it's really important to know if it's commercialization you always need to keep in your focus mind, do you still have the right clinical need? Do you still have a market? And is your project feasible? What are the consistency of your results? Do you still believe that the next step will add more value in the project? It doesn't mean that you can't continue to do research on that, but the commercial way is so heavy and it will take so much resources that you always need to consider if your project is still, has still a value and some potential. So yes, you will find on the website actually all the material, so I will not spend too much time. We have small videos where you can see how to use them, and you can download all the material. Everything is available on our website. So all the guides are there. Back to the presentation. So the project has been built via this consortium because we wanted to be able to share knowledge. And I think what is the most important from this experience with the project is actually networking, sharing knowledge, sharing your success as well as your non-success is very important, because that's how we grow. And I think your thematic is personalized medicine, but there is no easy way to achieve these very good goals. It's very complex. It's scientifically complex, and it's commercially very complex. So everybody has to participate to this challenging. We have been very lucky in that project because we have been 9 partners from 6 different countries. So we had very different approach. We had different kind of companies. Some were working with markers, some were more technology platforms. So we had a lot of inspiration. We have been a lot of support from industry, larger company, diagnostic, but also pharma industry, because biomarker is very important in the pharma development as well. And most important, we had quite a lot of participation from the research community, because they need help. They are, especially when you are working in a hospital, and someone mentioned that before, under the COVID, it has been very difficult to work in those conditions. They are very busy. Their time is very priceless. So it's really important for us as a TTO or innovation department to provide them the proper support that they need to achieve their goal. So that's what I could tell about the big tools for today. Maybe it's easier if you have questions. And like I say, everything is available on our website. So feel free. It's free of charge, and you can use that as much as you want.
Yeah, thanks, Valérie. It was really interesting to share your experience. Till when is your project running, actually?
Actually, it's almost 4 years we started. So we are running on the implementation part until the end of September this year. But all the material, all the results will be available for the next 5 years. And actually, we have been building a very large network based on 4 years of experience. So we are expanding much more than only the Baltic Sea region. Now we are a larger part of a European initiative working on biomarker commercialization, how to support them. I think we will continue to work on that topics and continue to reach potential partners. So if anybody feels the thematic very interesting, just please contact with me, because we have a lot of discussion across Europe to continue to reflect on how to participate to the acceptance of biomarker and their reach on the market.
Yeah, that's why it's really interesting. And so we see it's a large Baltic Sea cooperation, and the tools are available for everyone in Europe. And but have you experienced some differences between the regions in the Baltic Sea region, or was it easy to have it done?
I think actually, even outside the Baltic perspective, I think it has been easy in the way that we all have the same constatation that they were not possible, that we were making so much research and not being able really to have the results of this research implement in the clinic, because at the end we spend a lot of money on research, and the patient never benefit from those investments. So I think university and university hospital really want to see their results to be a gain for the patients. So in that way, we share the same interest from the beginning. And also, like I say, with industry, I was very nervous when we started the consortium if the industry will keep us at arm's length, because especially when you speak with on personalized medicine, you split the market, because more specific the treatment and the diagnostic is, the smaller the market is for a single product. But really, everybody wants to improve the quality of diagnostic, improve the quality of the chance of the people to overcome important serious disease and this kind of thing. So collaboration actually it's make us more richer, because we are too small. At least I'm working in Denmark. We are a small country, so alone we can't really achieve that much by ourselves. So reaching out with other countries, it makes us more stable, more robust to take decision and improve further.
Okay, well, thanks. So I hope you can stay till the end, because I still have some questions, but now thanks a lot.